Welcome to BYP's Esoteric Studies. Birds have a very interesting history and place in Esoterica. They are a vital part of the reality as well as the symbolism. And this is so fascinating. Now, I don't know if I have shown this before, but I have an esoteric journal, and I have painted a phoenix in watercolor in my journal. And this bird, along with other birds that I will share tonight, have a very important place in the study of esoteric spirituality. Amazingly enough, both as a symbol and as an actual reality. And I'm going to share that with you tonight. So let's get started. The flame that never dies. Now, out of the ashes I rise, untouched by time. That's the phoenix. Across millennia, humankind has watched the sky, and they've seen more than wings. They've seen spirit. And how is it that they've done that? Here's how. The bird has always been a symbol of ascent from earth to heaven, from death to renewal. And at the center of this cosmic aviary burns the phoenix, the fiery axis of eternity, teaching us that creation and destruction are one act. The phoenix is the fire bird of rebirth. Egyptian origins is coming from the Bennu bird. This was in the ancient temple of Heliopolis. The Bennu, it was a heron-like bird, and it rose from the primordial waters of noon, crowing at the first sunrise. The Egyptians saw it as the Ba of Re, the soul of the sun itself. Every dawn was a miniature resurrection. When the Greeks visited the Egyptians and learned their science and philosophy and history and religion, they transformed the Bennu bird into the phoenix, meaning crimson, the color of sunrise, blood, and life renewed. So Herodotus described it living 500 years before building its nest of myrrh and frankincense. Notice this, the nest was myrrh and frankincense, two of the three spices the wise men brought to Jesus. So there's a tie immediately here to the Christian view. This is a fragrant pyre of self-sacrifice and return. Early Christians made it an emblem of Christ's resurrection, and medieval alchemists saw it as the culmination of their magnum opus, the gold born from the black ashes of lead. The phoenix became the spirit purified through suffering. It appears whenever humanity stands at a turning point. Death or loss or collapse demands rebirth. Herodotus, the Greek historian from the 5th century BCE, is the earliest known Greek description of the phoenix, who recorded Egyptian beliefs about the Bennu bird. It was a radiant creature from Arabia, he noted. And it burned itself on an altar, and then it rose anew from its ashes. Now, he was skeptical. There's no doubt about that. But he preserved the phoenix for the Western imagination. He ensured that it would take flight far beyond Egypt's sun temples. He said in the histories, they say that the phoenix comes once every 500 years. The Emperor Hadrian, from 117 to 138 of the Common Era, the rebirth of Rome, he minted coins depicting the phoenix rising from flames. His idea here was to symbolize the eternal renewal of the Roman Empire itself. For him, the phoenix was more than myth, it was imperial propaganda. It said Rome might suffer, emperors might die, but the empire itself would rise again immortal. That was on the coin. Later emperors, like Constantine, they reused this imagery to mark their eras, especially when Christianity began merging with the Roman Empire. The phoenix became the mascot of the empire, the bird that says, "We may fall, but we will not die." The early Christian theologians hailed Christ as the phoenix, the Clement of Rome, and Tertullian, even St. Ambrose got in on this. They seized on the phoenix as a divine parable of resurrection. In the Physiologius, the 2nd century of the Common Era, a bestiary beloved by monks showed the phoenix was reborn after 3 days, of course, echoing Christ's death and resurrection as well. And it became a sermon symbol. From ashes to eternity, the mortal soul made immortal. He said, as the phoenix renews itself from death, so too does the righteous rise from the grave. So they were utilizing this symbol, this real bird and symbol, all at the same time. Now, the alchemists and mystics in the Renaissance, they adored the phoenix. In works like Michael Meyer in the Atlanta Fugians, 1617, and Heinrich Kuhnrath, the phoenix represented the final stage of the great work in alchemy. This was the rubedo, and this is the red dawn. And the idea is, at this stage in the great work, the base matter is transmuted into spiritual gold. And it represented inner birth. When the old ego burns away and the soul shines pure was their idea with this alchemical work. The firebird is the soul's furnace and its flight, the emblem of the alchemist who dies and is reborn in wisdom. William Shakespeare wrote a mystical poem, The Phoenix and the Turtle, celebrating perfect transcendent love that unites life and death. The phoenix here is both spiritual and erotic. It's a symbol of purity rising from mortal passion. Scholars often call it one of his most esoteric works, a hymn to immortal union. Truth may seem, but cannot be. Beauty brag, but 'tis not she. In The Phoenix and the Turtle. Napoleon in the French Revolution, in the Enlightenment, as well as the Revolution, writers like Voltaire, Condorcet, and later Napoleon Bonaparte, they invoked the phoenix to proclaim the rebirth of society after tyranny. It became a political emblem of human progress in this era, that civilization itself could rise from the ashes of monarchy and superstition. And Napoleon's medallions bore the phoenix, symbolizing the rebirth of France under his rule. In our era, it's a symbol of survival and hope. Carl Jung used the phoenix as a metaphor for psychological individuation, where the old self burns away in the fire of transformation to reveal the true soul. J.K. Rowling's fox, Dumbledore's phoenix, revived the symbol for a new generation, the bird of loyalty, healing, and resurrection. And in civil rights movements, Hiroshima memorials, and post-war emblems, the phoenix became a global icon of resilience, humanity's eternal comeback. We are the phoenix. The ashes are not our end, but our beginning. Reminds us of the Ouroboros, doesn't it? The snake biting its own tail. Understand that the phoenix doesn't escape the fire. It becomes it. That's the mystery. The transformation is not avoidance. That's the key to immortality. From flames to feather. For centuries, the phoenix was a myth. It was a dream of fire and renewal. And modern science, in a poetic twist worthy of myth itself, has revealed that this phoenix legend was true in spirit all along. Today's birds are the last surviving line of the dinosaurs. 66 million years ago, as we now know, the asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous period burned much of the planet. The skies darkened. The great reptilian empires, Tyrannosaurus, Triceratops, Velociraptor, they perished in fire and ash. But one slender branch of the dinosaur family, the theropods, they endured. They had already been experimenting with feathers for warmth, for display, for flight, long before they took to the skies. These small, bright-eyed creatures survived the inferno that ended their kin, and from their bones, Archaeopteryx, Microraptor, Onchiornis, we can trace a direct evolutionary line to the birds that sing outside of our own windows today. The phoenix of myth rose from the ashes once every age, but in truth, life itself arose from the ashes of the Cretaceous. So this is the cosmic paradox, death as rebirth. That event was the ultimate phoenix moment in natural history, the very fire that destroyed the dinosaurs, also cleared the stage for the new mammals, flowers, and the rebirth of flight in another form. The phoenix, we now know, was never a fantasy. It was the memory of life's own resurrection encoded in story. Every sparrow is a descendant of thunder lizards, every wing a fossil reborn. Science confirms what myth intuited. Life burns, then it transforms, and it flies again. The phoenix is not only a symbol of spiritual renewal, it's a biological reality. Every bird is a living miracle of rebirth, proof that death is never the final word. We have in ancient myth bridged with modern discovery. The same story the ancients told in symbols, science now tells us in fossils. The phoenix really did rise. Every robin, every hawk, every eagle that wheels in the sky today is a living descendant of the dinosaurs. 60 million years ago, the world burned, asteroids struck, forests ignited, the air turned to ash. But the phoenix lineage on Earth survived. Our birds. So when you see a sparrow rise from the dust, remember, you're watching a dinosaur reborn through fire. Life itself proved immortal, transforming, not dying. Crocodiles remained in the rivers, armored and patient, ancient cousins who never left the water. The mammals, our own ancestors, hid underground, small and trembling in the dark. But the birds chose light. They became the flame that learned to sing. The phoenix did not only live in myth, it lived in the Cretaceous sky, and it still lives in your backyard feeder today. Every fossil, every feather is a fossil renewed. Every wing, a page of the book of life still being written. The myth of rebirth, the fire of evolution, the music of survival, all of this converges in a single heartbeat of flight. This is the cosmic truth. The phoenix was never imaginary, it was prophetic. The ancients intuited what paleontology later proved, that life cannot be extinguished, only transfigured. Other birds also fit into this sacred, esoteric messengers of the gods, such as the eagle. In Mesopotamia, the eagle was Anzu, the guardian of divine secrets and the bearer of the storm. In Greece, we find Zeus with the eagle, of course. It was the thunder's herald, carrying the lightning of revelation. In Rome, the eagles crowned every legion's standard. And of course, their standard was the symbol of empire, order, and the unbreakable will of the state. In Christianity, the eagle became the emblem of St. John's gospel, and his gospel soared higher, mystical and visionary than the other gospels. The eagle's gift is the eye of spiritual sight, the courage to stare into the Sun of Truth. The eagle doesn't flee the light, it flies into it. That's what divine insight demands. Moving on, we find the crow and the raven were also huge spiritual birds and messengers. They were the guardians of the mystery. In Norse myth, Odin's ravens, Hugin and Munin, thought, and memory, they encircled the world, and they whispered wisdom into Odin's ear. In Celtic lore, the Morrigan, the goddess of fate and battle, she appeared as a crow on the battlefield, not to kill, but to witness the turning of destiny. Native American traditions, among the Haida and the Tlingit, raven is the trickster creator bird who brought light to the world by stealing the sun. In alchemy, the black crow symbolizes Nigredo, the necessary darkness before the dawn of transformation. So before we have the phoenix's gold, there must be the crow's black. The descent before the ascent. And now we find a very interesting messenger of the gods, the hummingbird, the messenger of joy and resurrection. Now, to the Aztecs, the hummingbird embodied Huitzilopochtli. Don't think I pronounced that right, but I tried. He was the sun warrior reborn each dawn. To the Maya, it was created from the scraps of other birds, so light that it could carry messages between the lovers and between the worlds, in heartbeats over 1,000 times a minute. Pure vibration. This represented pure life force. In Andean and Native American symbolism, the hummingbird teaches endurance, the sweetness of persistence, the nectar of spiritual courage. So while eagles rule in the heights, the hummingbird masters the heart, proving that power can be gentle and speed can be stillness. So across the cultures, these divine birds share one truth. They bridge worlds. The phoenix rises between death and rebirth. The eagle rises between earth and the sun. The raven rises between knowledge and mystery. And the hummingbird rises between love and eternity. They are psychopomps. That is, they're guides, they're messengers, they're transmuters. They're living metaphors of the soul's ascent. In every myth, the winged creature is our own spirit learning how to fly. The flight of the bird is the flight of consciousness. That's why shamans wore feathers. That's why prophets dreamed of wings, and why poets still sing of soaring hearts. From T.S. Eliot's Ashes of the Wasteland to the phoenix rising from Hiroshima's ruin to the space program naming ships Phoenix, that image still burns bright today. The phoenix whispers every collapse, personal or civilizational, hides the seeds of new life. In psychological terms, it's about us individually, the death of the false self and the birth of the whole. So when life burns down what you were, it's only clearing space for what you are to become. All sacred birds are mirrors of the inner flight. The phoenix teaches transformation. The eagle, illumination. The raven or crow, wisdom. And the hummingbird, joy. They're not just myths of the sky, they are maps of the spirit. When we meditate on them, when we paint them, when we dream them, when we behold them, we participate in that same divine motion. We rise from our own ashes into the awareness carrying light in our own wings. In the end, says the soul, I too am a feather of fire. So that's kind of a fun sort of a meditation and historical and spiritual look at a living symbol that we can utilize in our thoughts and lives so that we can improve our lot in life spiritually and prepare for what is coming. And this is one very good way. The symbols, the mythologies, the animals, the birds, they're all around us, whether in our books, on our computer, in the sky, or on the ground. All of these reminders are for our benefit once we have the eyes opened and we become awakened to the fact that we can see the symbols as well as the signs with spiritual eyes wide open. So thanks for watching the Backyard Professor's Esoteric Studies. I have a lot more I will share with you as I find the time. I hope you guys have a wonderful awakening evening tonight. And if not, have one tomorrow. Pay attention to your surroundings and enjoy our lives, because we, like the birds up in the sky, are flying and floating and flowing with spirit, just as they are. I'll see you soon.